in that moment, standing in that line with my mother-in-law sitting in the wheelchair, and her telling everybody within earshot just how mean I was for making her sit there while she's perfectly capable of walking, I didn't know whether to cry or brace myself for a fight. But I knew I was never ever going to be able to take her out in public by myself again. If you're new here, hi, I'm Vicki, and I want to share the heart-wrenching moment that made me realize that being a caregiver to my mother-in-law was going to be harder because we weren't the same color. And I struggled to tell this story as I don't want it to be just about race, but I just want to shed some light on what's happening when people judge, when people look at a situation and they don't try to fully understand it, but jump to conclusions. So as I've shared many times here, my mother-in-law has dementia, and her dementia is progressed, and she has two symptoms that are really hard to deal with. One of them is confabulation. And confabulation is when your brain tries to fill the holes in your memory with some sort of story so that there are no gaps. And that story can be real. It could be something that happened to somebody else as being real, not happening to the person who's trying to remember it. So it could be a news story, it could be a TV show, it could be something that somebody else told them, and it could be completely, totally off kilter for that person. The other thing that she has is something called anosognosia. And anosognosia is when you can't see or recognize that you actually have physical or mental ailments. And in the case of my mother-in-law, when you talk to her, she's fine. She walks fine, she sees fine, she hears fine, and none of that is true. And it's so bad that she'll talk to the doctor and the doctor will be talking about her medication. She goes, I don't take any medications. And the doctor who's prescribed them is looking at her like, yeah, you do, but I understand. So with that backstory, in 2022, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, who had lost their licenses because we didn't understand what was going on in their brain, renewed their season tickets to a local theater. And when they did so, it put us in a panic because we're like, how the heck are they think they're supposed to get there? We're not going to just take them and drop them off. So we rushed to get tickets so that we could take them and be there with them because we knew about their mobility issues. And on this one occasion, because their seats were in the middle of the theater and ours were at the end, we left them strict instructions. When it's time for intermission, and I know you're going to want to go to the bathroom, go to the right and I'll meet you at the end of the aisle. Well, intermission came, she stands up, looks at me to the right, and makes a beeline to the left. So I'm forced to go out my side, run up the ramp, sprint through the lobby like OJ going through the airport, and find her. And when I get to her, she had fallen, and some stranger, a nice man, was picking her up. And she basically tells me she wasn't falling, that he thought she needed help, so he helped her. And yeah, we know the story, anosognosia and confabulation. So on that ride home, after we dropped them off, I told Michael, this can't happen anymore, she's going to need a mobility device. And so we picked up a wheelchair. So the next time we took them to the theater, we lowered the boom and told her she's going to have to ride in this wheelchair because she's too much of a fall risk. And while my husband is pushing her through the lobby, she's telling everybody within earshot how she doesn't need this walker. She's telling everybody how she doesn't need this wheelchair. She can walk perfectly fine. And everyone's just ignoring it. Nobody's saying anything except for one usher who said, oh, I'm glad to see you got a wheelchair. It's going to be so much better for you, because they remember, they understand, they know what a liability she was to their theater, and they were so happy that we finally took care of the problem. So fast forward, it's intermission. She does the same thing. She doesn't go to the right. She goes to the left. We're running around trying to grab her and get her into the wheelchair. Get her to the wheelchair, and I take her to the bathroom, and we're standing in line, and she's telling everybody within earshot how mean I am, how I am making her ride in this wheelchair when she walks perfectly fine. Now, I look like me. My mother-in-law is blonde with hazel eyes. And people are starting to give me the death stare, like, how dare you do this to this woman? And who are you anyway? Are you a stranger? Are you the help? What are you? No one's saying anything, but the death stares are just like really coming at me. And in that moment, I didn't know whether to cry because I couldn't believe it was happening, or brace myself for a fight because I don't know if one of these Karens is going to try to jump me. They all have their phones out. People are starting to record. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? I'm standing in line for the bathroom. Anyway, one of the other ushers walks up. My mother-in-law says, I can't believe she's making me sit in this wheelchair. And that usher says, no, you actually need this wheelchair. Don't you remember the last couple of times you've been here, you've fallen and your son or your daughter-in-law's had to pick you up and help you up. And my mother-in-law has this puzzled look on her face like, nah, she couldn't be talking about me. That's not me. And so she just reminds her, you were really lucky to have family that cares enough about you to take care of this and try to keep you safe. I kid you not. Every single Karen who had their phone out put their phones away and hid their eyes. They went from judging to they couldn't even look at me. And I'm like, are you freaking serious here? You didn't have a problem trying to intimidate me. But now that you know the story, no apologies. No, I'm sorry. No, my mother or father has dementia and I completely understand what you're going through. I'm so sorry you're going through this. None of that. Just complete like as if, oh, okay, nothing to see here, but we ain't going to acknowledge what we just did to her. And so that's why this is important. Because in this world today, we're not homogenous. We are very, very diverse. And for people to take a stance that just because you're not the same color, that you couldn't possibly be with this person, or just because you're not the same color, you're actually hurting them or mean to them. Because I kid you not, Michael pushing her to the lobby with her doing the same exact freaking thing. Nobody batted an eye. But the second she does it, when she's just with me, all of a sudden the police protection needs to be called. On that ride home, after we dropped them off, I talked to Michael and I told him, I can't do this. I can't take your mother out in public alone anymore because I can't guarantee her or my safety. I can't guarantee that one of these vigilantes isn't going to jump me. I can't guarantee that some cop with too much time in his hand isn't going to arrest me. And I can't trust that your mother isn't going to try to get out that wheelchair, stand up and face plant. I can't protect her or me. So going forward, if you're not with me, I can't take her out in public. And it's sad that he totally agreed with me. And it's sad that I can't take my family member out in public with me. But it's what I have to do in order to maintain our safety. I don't know how many of you out there are caring for someone who doesn't look like you and have had something like this happen to you. I'd love to know in the comments, did it progress? Did it get violent? Did you have to physically protect yourself? I know one thing is, it hurts because I've never raised my voice to her. I've never threatened her in any way. And for those people to take that stance, that while I'm being yelled at and I'm just standing there taking it, that I was the aggressor and that I was the one, and that she was the one that needed protection from me. Thank you for letting me share this story. This is November, which is National Family Caregivers Month, and that's why I wanted to raise this issue and bring awareness to, we need to do better. I get that there are people out there abusing seniors, and I get that we need to protect them. But don't we also have the obligation to understand and assess the situation before we jump to judgment?